All right, so our announcements. The very first thing I want to talk about is our module ends next week. On Tuesday, which is going to be the 17th. That's right. No, that's not right. This is the 17th. Let me change my page over here, y'all. The 24th. I had that number in my mind, but I was like, wait a minute. So on the 24th, we're going to be ending this module. Okay, I'm going to say this several times because remember, guys, I'm not just talking to you. I'm talking to students who are going to listen to this later. Your assignments must be in for module 155, which is the module we're in right now, Tuesday by midnight. I cannot leave this module open for a whole week after, and like I did the last time, and let me tell you why. That puts me in 2 modules trying to grade so many different things. It's just too much. So unless you've talked to me ahead of time, and unless we have an agreement, unless there's a COVID issue, you know what, there's extenuating circumstances, and I am willing to work with you on those circumstances. But for the majority of you, if you're well and you're okay and you're able-bodied, I need your assignments for Tuesday finished by midnight on Tuesday. So when Wednesday comes, we're able to start our next module, okay?
Next Tuesday, right? Next Tuesday. Okay.
Yeah, the 24th is going to be your final exam. And then I think I have like a critical thinking question, and we'll be doing Zoom on that day. And we'll talk about the new book we're moving into. So we're moving into front office. You guys are going to be able to relax a little bit. I know the coding is very intense. There's lots of work, right? But that's not the whole course the whole time. It just is this part of it. I do want to caution you, this is my first time doing this with an online format. Before, we were doing paper books and we were doing things online, but I don't understand yet how it transfers, but we're working on that now. I'm not a last minute Nelly, so I have been in contact with the right people. But if I don't have everything completely figured out by next Tuesday, I'm just giving you fair warning. I am going to figure it out as quickly as possible. You guys are going to enjoy this.
Okay. Is the book online? Can you get the book on paper form?
Yeah, you can buy the paper book. This is not going to be nearly as intense, Miss Melissa, as the coding. I don't know that you're going to need to do that for the rest of this little bit. But again, I don't want to say too much about it because I don't have all the answers, because this is very different from what I've ever done. So I'm going to, please be gracious to me if I don't quite know how it's all going to work, but we're going to figure it out, and we'll figure it out together. Okay. So next Tuesday, the module ends by midnight. I really want all the assignments in. I can't keep carrying it on and on and on. Tomorrow, we're going to start using, or today, or whenever you start your next round of assignments, your ICD-10 manual. Now, you're not learning the whole ICD-10 manual. We're just doing a little snippet of it. And what they're really talking about in this chapter is going to be primary diagnosis. So I don't want to do a whole lot on it, simply because tomorrow you get your lecture and you need to have time to read. And then when we do Zoom on Thursday, we can talk about it more in depth, and we can even code and do some different things to kind of make sure that you're understanding. But I want you to listen to those lectures and read your material before we get too far into it. Report cards have been mailed out for those of you who are actually up to get report cards. And I just want to hit just 1 second. I can print out my grades, guys, from Ginger Bar and tell you who gets on and does their lessons and who don't. So I just want to encourage everybody, if you're not able to get on every single day, please get on at least every other day and do some assignments, because what happens is Tuesday's coming up fast. I know it's a week away, and that sounds like a lot of time today, but come tomorrow and the next day, time gets away from us. And come next Tuesday, it's too late to try to catch up on 20 days worth of work, or 10 days worth of work, or 5 days worth of work. So for those of you who've had trouble keeping up, I just want to tell you, we start a new module. It's a new start, but please make sure you're keeping up with your assignments the best you can. Now, I'm not talking to anybody specifically in this group or anything like that. I'm just saying this, we have lots of students, right? It's just an encouragement to please get on and do your assignments daily or every other day. You guys know I've been giving that question of the day. That's really helped with some attendance. I'm really happy with how that's going. Okay, so I think that's all the announcements that I need to make. Does anybody have anything before we watch our little video? No? Okay, so the only thing our little video is me. I couldn't get my webcam set up to where we could do it together. So it's just going to be introducing the ICD-10. I just want to get you familiar with the actual book. Okay, so, you know, what does this book have in it? What are the differences? Well, in the CPT, we were doing procedures, right? So that's what we're doing. The ICD-10 is diagnoses. Why are we doing the procedures? What illnesses do we have? And then you have to make decisions sometimes. What's the primary? What's the secondary? What's the third? Well, your primary diagnosis is going to be the one that holds the most weight for reimbursement purposes. How will you know? Well, there are indications to tell you. So I'm just going to throw up something and say, okay, if you have coronary artery disease and afibrillation, which is worse? Well, do you know? Some people don't. I do, but why? Because I was a cardiology coder. You do a little research on it. And of course, when you get to your facilities, they're going to tell you what they want you to code first. It's going to be a whole cheat sheet that gives you all of that. But coronary artery disease holds more weight than the AFib. So just pay close attention to those things, you know, as we're doing it, just kind of think about it. But again, don't worry about becoming an expert in ICD-10. You don't have to be. So the biggest difference is when we code in a CPT, our index is where? In the back, right? ICD-10, it's in the front. But it's still the same thing. If you're looking up a cough, instead of a tonsillectomy, you see it's still looking it up the same way, but it's just in a different book, and it's in, the index is in a different spot. So you would go to cough in your index in the front of the book, find your code, and then you would, two ways, right? Index, and then you're going to go to your tabular and you're going to double check and make sure that you have the correct code. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to watch the little video. It's not very long. It's only 10 minutes. So you guys don't worry.
Well, yesterday we did a short little slideshow on ICD-10, and I didn't have my webcam with me at home, so I decided I wanted to just do a short little video of how I have my ICD-10 labeled and are tabbed. You guys excuse my little bruise here. You know, I had my surgery and I'm bruised and banged up a little bit, but I'm doing good. So I just wanted to for you to be able to see the way that I have done mine. I bought the little tabs, and this is my index up front, and so I have my index alphabetized, but I wanted to start at the beginning. This is your table of contents. Then behind that, you're going to have your instructional notes. This is where you're going to be able to see what includes, excludes, code first. It gives you lots of great information here. This is your list of symbols and what it means. Then as we move on, we have symbols and conventions is the next little part. This is a guide to our updates. And these are our guidelines. So you can tab each part of that if you like. Guidelines are pretty extensive here, but it's great to know where you can go and get extra information. And then here I have an anatomy tab. So this is my anatomy portion, which we have some great learning tools here. Anatomy intrigues me. I think it's very interesting. So I like being able to refer to that if I need to a little bit more explanation on where something is located or what it is. So, and then I move straight into my alphabetic index. And again, I've just alphabetized, you know, put my little tabs in alphabetical order. So if I'm going to go to cough, I can just go straight to C. I have actually put a tab here for disease because disease is used a lot, and so I just decided to put a tab for disease. You can do that. Now, after our index, we move into some of our tables. This is our table of neoplasms. This is our table of drugs and chemicals. My least favorite thing, the external cause of injuries index. This kind of gets a little confusing sometimes, but it's a lot of fun though too. And then we move straight into our tabular list of diseases where we go to check two ways. Look it up in our index, then we check it in our tabular. And then I have my little tabs here. And as you go through and you feel as though you want to tab more, you absolutely can. I like to do what's called bubble and highlighting. I'm going to go ahead and go to my Z codes because I have done some of the bubble and highlighting in my Z codes. Ahead of each chapter, you're going to find chapter-specific guidelines. And then I like to bubble and highlight and make notes in my ICD-10. So this is just a short little snippet of what I like to do to my ICD-10. If you have questions about that or you want to see it in a closer way, just let me know and we can do that. But before we get off of our short little video here, I'm actually going to do a YouTube video on the ICD-10. So let's get that going. Here we go.
So, you're a healthcare provider, nurse, biller, or manager, and are used to the 5-digit ICD-9 codes. Heck, you got a bunch of those diagnosis codes memorized and can rattle them off the top of your head. Introducing ICD-10, with up to 7 alphanumeric characters. Let's take a closer look at how ICD-10 is formatted. ICD-10 starts out its codes with the first 3 characters identifying the category. The first character of the category is always a letter. The second and third characters can be numbers or letters. There is always a decimal after the third character, unless the code is made up of just 3 characters, which is the minimum number in the code set. The fourth character defines a subcategory and can be either numbers or letters and identifies the site, the cause of the disease or condition, the symptom, and or stage of the condition. The fifth and sixth character further defines specificity, such as location and laterality. Big word, but it just means what side of the body, left or right, as in big left toe. Some categories have a 7th character extender, which can be a letter or a number and changes the entire meaning of the description. For example, the 7th character could stand for initial or subsequent encounter. Some codes need the 7th character, but don't need the 4th, 5th, or even 6th character. So, what do you do in those cases? How nice that ICD-10 thought of that. It uses an X as a placeholder. ICD-10 does this to be able to expand the code set in the future to be more specific. So, as we go from 3 characters to 4, 5, or more characters, the diagnosis becomes very precise, which is the whole point of ICD-10. Oh, and did I mention? Your documentation has to be even more detailed nowadays too. Nuts, huh?
So, oh, hang on.
It clarified maybe something that wasn't clear.
Let me shut me up so I can talk. So for some reason, I could not get my webcam to line up that good. So did you guys were you able to see really well how this the ICD-10 is set up? Okay, I know, does it seem, who thinks it seems scary right now?
Me.
Okay, once you get in it, remember, you just need to start somewhere, right? That's why I didn't do a whole lot, because we haven't even gotten into the chapter yet. So remember, the ICD-10 and the CPT, the difference is CPT is procedures, ICD-10 is diagnoses. In the diagnosis book, your index is found in the front instead of the back. So you're still going to be looking up things the way you were in the CPT. The difference in ICD-10 also is it always starts with a letter. It may be A41.9. It may be E11.9. E11.9 is diabetes. Coronary artery disease, I25.10. So it's always going to start with a letter, okay? Right now, you're not diving real deep. We're talking about principal or primary diagnosis. And I don't want to get into that until you guys have an opportunity to listen to your lecture that's there for tomorrow, and you have a chance to read your chapter. And also, don't forget your PowerPoint slides. Read through your PowerPoint slides. And do not be afraid. If you did really well with the CPT, you're not going to have an issue with the ICD-10. You're just not. To me, the ICD-10 is a little simpler. I don't know, and I like it because it has gross stuff in it too. You know, like if you have a putrid left toe or something like that, this is where all the gross stuff is. This is all of the things, all the illnesses, all the infections, pressure ulcers, things like that. That's where this is found. These are all the terrible sicknesses. COVID, where you think you're going to find COVID? ICD-10. So if you want to see, this is the ICD-10 book that I was just showing you, and you can see it's all labeled up, right? Well, I'm starting where you're starting. Nothing. So I haven't started to label mine yet. So if we want to spend time together and just sit and label, we can do that. We can do that just as a fun. We don't have to even record that. We can just pick a Zoom and kind of talk about it, and, you know, bubble and highlighting. I learned to bubble and highlight from YouTube. You can just get on and say, bubble and highlight my ICD-10. There's just a ton of resources out there that you can use. Bubble and highlighting helps me. May not be something you want to do. Remember, it's your manual. You do it how you feel comfortable and the way you learn. So, any questions? Or you may not even know that you have a question yet, but that's okay. Now you can text me or call me.
I have a question.
Okay.
PowerPoint slides. I haven't found those yet.
Okay, let me share my screen so I can show you where they're at. Let me get out of this.
But I didn't want to just
Oh,
stop
for heaven's sakes.
there. Oh my goodness. There. Oh my goodness.
Okay, over here on the left-hand side, Melanie, you see it says PowerPoint slides. You click on it, it's right here.
Okay. Alrighty. I'm gonna try and find them later. I haven't been able to find them. I've been looking too.
Okay, well, if you don't see it, let me know and I'll try to figure out what's going on. If nothing else, I'll just make a copy and email it to you. You know, just email you a copy of it. All right, ladies. Well, I told you it wasn't going to be very much today. I just kind of wanted to get you started a little bit so you wouldn't feel like you were free falling. But when we get together on Thursday, of course, we'll do coding and more intense things, and we'll talk about, you know, a little bit more about principal diagnosis. I'm going to tell you, you're not going to be perfect at it, because I'm not perfect at it. Sometimes I'm like, well, why did they choose that? Because I would have chose blah, blah, blah. Because we're all individuals, right? Sometimes we choose things a little differently. So I don't want you to be hard on yourself. I want you to relax and I want you to enjoy it because it's really, you're just getting this much of the ICD-10. So remember, we're going to wrap back around to this and we're going to get into it real heavy when we wrap back around. So we just have to get the ball rolling. And so when you get back around, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I remember we talked about that. So, all right. Well, you ladies have a wonderful, yeah, Jasmine, you have a question?
Yeah, I was gonna say that I don't think anything's wrong with Melanie's because I just checked on my side and I don't see the PowerPoint tab either.
I will work on it. I don't know why. Maybe I don't have it where you can see it. I'll go in and check to see if I maybe haven't made it visible. That would be weird. But anyway, I will do that as soon as we click off. I don't want to bring y'all through that poor little process where I'm trying to click on everything and figure it out. But all right, I will check on that and I will get with y'all and let you know that I figured it out or see if you can see it, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, ladies. Have a great day and I'll see you on Thursday.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everybody.